Well, this is recorded now, so it's a little bit better.
I'm trying to be good.
I'm pretty sure, especially when the plaque came through. Yeah.
Me too.
It's essentially a vote for
Let me read about
There's still not. I didn't know there was a legal
Well,
basis.
or, and I suppose in that case, you could still vote no, because, I mean, you're voting against the motion to approve, is what you're doing. You're not voting to deny. You're voting against the motion to approve.
But I think
You need a reason if you're going to deny.
that they're not.
You need a reason to deny.
Good, Andy.
How are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Hey, brother.
Adam?
Hey,
Good to see you.
good to see you as
Thank you
well.
for all your help on
You
this.
bet.
So, whatever, just another day. Let's go.
I'll introduce you guys.
We can't have like last week happened.
Thank you.
All right, it is 5:01. Hey, JD, you're good. And we will call to order the March 4th, 2024 P and Z work session meeting. At this time, does anyone wish to make a public comment? If so, please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and city of residence for the record.
The only people logged on online are us.
Okay, well, seeing none, we will turn the meeting over to Mr. Brian Chandler.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. So on tonight's agenda, you will notice that we have a consent agenda plat.
Yeah.
So based on our discussion, we did put that one on there. And honestly, we could have put number 8 on there. We'll talk about that a little bit. But so number 4, the final plat of Tara Lee. And this, sorry, what is it? Tara? What did I say? Tara, okay. Tara Lee. And so this one is combining 3 lots into a single lot. And you all are seeing it because it's just a replat. And so by code, you see all replats. And so we've, otherwise it'd be administrative. So we've left that on consent and we can discuss it as you wish, or, you guys can pull it, give a short presentation. And item 8 in contrast is also, but it's a replat as well. So of course you're seeing that one. There's additional right of way that's being dedicated. It's also one of those that is outside of our city limits, but it's it's adjacent to our city limits. And so it's you all as the authority as opposed to Bell County per the interlocal agreement. So we decided to leave that one on just for discussion, but either way, if you have a strong thought one way or another, we can in the future put those on consent as well. So honestly, that was about Friday afternoon too, when we looked at that and said, oh, perhaps that one should also be on consent. But by that point, agenda had been posted and, so just discussion items on those. Any thoughts?
So from a legal and administrative piece, once it's on regular agenda, we can't move it back to consent agenda.
That's correct. You could do the opposite. If it's on
Correct.
consent, you can put it on regular agenda. We just can't move it to no discussion without it being on the agenda.
And then with the same thought, since we know going through workshop into the regular meeting that starts at 5:30, how can we give you the feedback that we don't want the full rundown and we just want the cliff notes and we can just move forward versus having the full explanation? Do you want us just to tell, I'm just thinking future state, those that make it to regular agenda that could have been on.
Mhm.
Do you want us just to tell you in the workshop that we don't want the full thing? Just give it-
Sure, let's have a discussion.
That would be my thought. I'm asking y'all.
For item
Is that the way
8,
y'all want it to happen?
this meeting for item 8.
This item specifically for tonight, but then going forward, how do you want to handle it? We want the short condensed version. Really could have been on versus having to go through the whole, let's say their time and our time.
Well, what about those ones that we've had where we've had the, in ETJ specifically, the fire hydrant requirements?
Great question, because that
Because
would,
those sometimes are just,
if it's an,
would be
that'd
consent.
be an exception though. And so if there's
Okay.
an exception, you're gonna get the full presentation.
Gotcha,
And so- Because council would as well.
Yeah, okay, because they have to see it anyways as well.
Yes.
So anything, anything that is consent agenda stuff that we're the last step essentially.
Yes, and that there's only one reason, essentially, that it's, you know, that you're the final authority, otherwise it'd be administrative.
Okay.
Or, you know, number 8, 2 reasons, but, you know, that's why we want to discuss it as well. I mean, since that one is a replat and there's some right-of-way dedication to meet the county's standards, actually, in that case.
So Clint, are you asking to move this to the consent agenda tonight? Or are you asking for?
Can't, it's my understanding, we move it from regular back to consent, so I understood that process, now I'm just simply.
Oh,
trying
the
to see, are
abridged
we in
presentation.
consensus that
Yeah.
we could just have the short version of
Yes.
the presentation versus the standard. Not that y'all haven't worked hard to put the full slides together.
Oh, no,
We
it's,
appreciate that.
it's okay.
Um,
It doesn't hurt our feelings if you ask us to talk less.
That, yes.
We'll do the abridged presentation
Okay.
for item 8.
And Christina, you can do an abbreviated version of that. Sorry, it's Cheryl. Cheryl. Yeah. Okay.
It's not you, Cheryl, it's me.
All right, well, that can be a shorter version of the presentation. All right, we've got 2 zoning cases on the agenda. And so the number 6 at 2600 West Avenue G. This is a proposed multifamily project. This is the former Atlas storage site. It was a chair company, furniture company. Desk, thank you. Yes.
I remember when it
That's,
burned down in the
that's how
90s.
you know somebody is local, when they know exactly what
Where
it
American
was,
Desk
you
was.
know, not the last time, but, you know, 2 times or more before, but, and actually, so the developer, Adam Moore, is here to answer any questions during the workshop, certainly in regular agenda, and Kelly Fowler, who is the engineer for that project. But this one, there has been a lot of coordination with these gentlemen and their design team. So this is a key area, very visible, as you know, just driving down I-35, and you can see the ruins of what used to be there. I mean, it's,
An eyesore for
yes,
years.
literally it's 100% concrete now and 100% impervious cover. Commissioner Jurasik, I know you have to abstain. I know you've submitted, I think you're broker for that. So just for the record, I know he's already gone through the paperwork on that one, but so yes, this is a key location close to I-35. The city already had budgeted a plan to do a visioning exercise along I-35 master plan. And so because of the timing, I think that section of I-35 was moved up. That master plan process is still in progress, but point is, we worked with them to at least just get far enough to be able to say, look, these are some concepts that have been discussed and let's see how we can help each other. And so that'll be covered, at least in terms of right of way, the additional right of way that they have dedicated for future street connectivity. So that ultimately you could take 57th Street all the way up to Adams. So providing a really important community collector and a safety valve. And so anyway, there could be a really long presentation. This one won't be particularly long, but Cheryl will have it covered. And I guess after reading the staff report, background information, do you have any questions that you want to ask now? Or you can certainly hold them until the regular agenda presentation.
The one, so because I like Salmon's golf course. How much of that area is going to be affected? Like, I don't see anything in our presentation where that redirection of that trail is gonna, or the cart path is gonna go.
Okay, great.
I
great.
don't see much room either way, so that's why I was curious.
Right. So, so the cart path there, so a section of the cart path, and I don't know which hole that is. You guys would know which hole that is.
16.
Okay, thank you. Hole 16, the cart path is actually on their property.
Right.
It's been there since the 80s, but either way, it's their property. And so they have agreed to pay for the relocation and are, the bottom line is that it's a concept right now in terms of where it would go, but ultimately they're using their engineers and the city has to approve, working specifically with the Salmon's staff and the parks staff and city management to approve those plans. But that is an example of one of those concepts that has been discussed that ultimately, they clearly need their land to be able to make it work, make parking work. They are preserving a section of trees in the back. I know Cheryl's really excited about that. But either way, that was a cooperative effort to, for them to relocate our path and still meet the needs of the golf course. So it's going to be moved as as little as is possible in order to meet the needs of the golf course and Parks and Rec. Kyle has it.
Do it in the wintertime, please.
Yeah.
And I think just to kind of more directly answer your question, where it's going right now is over an area that they use for basically sod for getting sod to other portions of the golf course. They will not be realigning hole 16 itself.
Well, right, yeah.
So
Just that cart path that goes around
just
that.
the cart path.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the hole itself.
Thank you, Kyle. All right, any other questions on that one?
It goes without question, this is Temple ISD.
Mhm.
Temple ISD been having a conversation about the multi.
Yeah, I mean, so they were certainly notified. I believe y'all reached out to them. I don't recall whether you got anything, a formal response or if you've heard from them, but ultimately they didn't express any concerns.
Yeah, so we actually had a meeting, a team's meeting with.
Hey, Adam, why don't you come up and introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Adam Moore and I'm with Kilbane Development Company. And we actually had a meeting with the superintendent and with, I believe, the vice president of the school board, who's also vice president of Baylor, Scott and White, I believe.
School board president, that'd be Dan Posey.
Dan Posey. And we actually walked him through the plan, show him the actual site plan. We actually got a email from him that I actually sent to the city.
Okay, so that's.
City does have
that's in the
their,
packet then.
essentially their approval that we chatted with them and that they were accepting the actual site plan development
Very good.
So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right. Next one is number 7 is 3212 East Adams. And there was a response that Kathy received today. I believe you all have a copy of that. But this is a plan development, East Adams, so the east of the loop. And this is identified within the comprehensive plan as a mixed-use activity center. So in order to comply with the comprehensive plan, recognizing there are some limitations out there in that section of East Adams, it's 2 lanes. I don't think you could really even say that it's a shoulder. So it's a combination of storage and some retail. And so that provides the mix of uses, yet still being marketable and feasible at now or in the near future. Any questions about that one? All right. So with that, let me just turn your attention to the director's report. And really at page 11, city council final decisions. And then we'll go into just the slides that we ran out of time for in the last workshop. But just want to give you a heads up on 3426 West Nugent, that if you remember that one, as multifamily and office warehouse on the north side of the street across from Kennedy Powell Elementary School, speaking of TISD. And that one, we actually did receive a notice after it went to P&Z, concerns from the school district about multifamily at that location. And so the case has been tabled. It's coming back to city council on the 21st. And they have actually revised their request from multifamily to townhouses in working with the school district, because then those are single family attached. They'd be townhouses on individual lots that would generate less traffic. We would, you're looking at probably a 40% reduction of the number of units. And then there are a number of other conditions as well that were worked out, also with involvement from 2 of the council members in meeting with the applicant. So just wanted to give you a heads up about that. And so we're looking forward to discussing that on the 21st. Yes, good question. TISD, most of their concerns were really related to traffic. And so the multifamily, of course, is still a concern, but I think they highlighted the traffic aspect, especially across from a busy elementary school that continues to grow. And with the projected numbers of growth for that elementary school alone, that just the level of traffic was a real concern. And so I think that's where the townhouses appeared to be a better solution, less traffic, but still providing the single family attached nature of the development and the ability to enhance home ownership within the area. All right. So we've got 12 minutes. Just if Jason, if you wouldn't mind pulling up, this is on the workshop agenda. This is number 3, follow-up discussion on commissioner feedback from the February 5th workshop meeting. All right. And so I'm going to go over, well, actually, Jason's going to go over the transportation updates. And then we talked briefly just about, and there's no reason for me to talk any more than 3 minutes about limiting other people to 3 minutes, but I'll just revisit that. And then a conversation about base zoning cases and making sure that we provide full analysis in terms of setbacks, development standards, uses that are allowed, and, and all the other relevant development standards. And then the last question was about presentations, and they be sent to you all ahead of time? And I won't say no, but I think that would be something that we'd have to work towards, because then we'd have to kind of back up some of our other deadlines. Because, we've compressed and really expedited the zoning case schedule between P and Z and council. That which has been fine. We're in favor of that, especially for the applicant. But in terms of kind of compressing the schedule, it does make it a little more challenging even on the front end to also meet all of the demands. But anyway, we'll talk more about that. And with that, let me turn it over to Mr. Deckman.
I'll start by saying this is not my slide. I stole this from Public Works. So if they want it, they'll have to come get it back. Draw your attention to the blue. Those are the completed projects. So Outer Loop North up there, tied into that red alignment mark number 9, that's coming soon. The next one that I will brag on, again, bragging on Public Works, is Poison Oak Road Phase 1, including the traffic signal that we all know was needed for quite a while. They were able to get that approved through TxDOT, worked into the construction of Poison Oak. That opened this morning. So great way to start the week. And then you see that yellow number 12, then they're still working on future Poison Oak Phase 2. A lot of these are upcoming bids. So we've got some estimated construction timelines, but that'll hinge, specifically, you've heard us talk a number of times about Kegley Road, but North P Ridge and Poison Oak Phase 2 are all in the same boat of getting everything complete, finalizing some of the Encore utility relocations, and getting it on the council agenda, through purchasing, to be able to have that bid package ready to go, so they can then award that contract. So those yellow ones are the ones that are coming soon. I added one marker to the slide that Public Works did not have on, but we've heard a number of comments, and that's number 10, right there, kind of in the middle, is that I-35 landscaping gateway improvement project. That's estimated to be complete by October of this year. It's a RZ funded project, as well as $5 million from the RZ and $500,000 award from the Keep Texas Beautiful. We received 2 governor's award, and put that money towards that landscaping and beautification project. So there'll be, large sign, lighting, landscaping, some public art, really, welcome folks as they come in off I-35. So I know I've received a number of calls, and the other staff has too, emails. What are those big piles of dirt at the intersection? There's been a number of news articles about it. So I felt it was worth adding that one. A lot of work in West Temple right now. So we understand that. I've had some conversations with the council members from that district. So understand that it is disruptive, asking for patience. As the transportation planner, put that hat on, do your best to plan for the detours, plan an alternate route. And when it's done, it's going to be great. It's just not going to be great for a minute. So with that, I'll take any questions you might have.
So not about what's physically here on this slide, Jason. Beyond the Bend, that's obviously news started publishing that because there's some early work going on that one. Now mostly friends of mine, but people have asked,
Yep.
And I said it was a concern of mine. Like, is there any talk, is there any timeline of when TxDOT may think about assisting us, the city of Temple, with that development coming on?
Not sure what do you mean by assisting us?
Adding some on and off ramps after 93. And so we see in the afternoon time, early evening time, when that entire area from 14 to 35 just gets, stuck in the mud. So if people are getting off there to go, here in 5 years, get to that development, you
I
say,
follow-
what
I
I'm
follow
getting
you
at.
now,
There is
yeah.
no, from 6th Street in Belton to Midway, there's no on or off to get off, in or
There's-
off the interstate.
Yeah, there's no uninterrupted
And there's a
flow.
huge development coming through there. We talked about it. I don't recall the conversations of it, but now that it's back on the radar, that'd be something that we may, as that gets moving, get some more headway. We may want to try to move that up potentially if we can.
So two things on that. You're absolutely right about that intersection. We did have an inquiry come in today. TxDOT's working on the schematics for that section of I-35 that I mentioned during last meeting, that's coming. That there'll be some public meetings coming up this year for what the widening of I-35 looks like and means for everyone. But they had asked us if there was, any past studies that we had done for the Outer Loop West, where that ties in. They're looking at how those frontage roads and how those ramps interact from our section as you go into City of Belton. It's not going to stop at our city limits. TxDOT's going to, do that whole segment. So they had asked us, what past studies we've done. So as that process goes forward, then there's an opportunity to talk about how does the intersection of 93 or 6th Street at 35, how is that affected by our development? What can be done? And we have an opportunity to do it. So we'll take that and pass that on for those conversations. But please, keep your eyes peeled and I'll let y'all know as soon as we know. They haven't set dates yet, but that's the exact kind of thing that needs to be brought up during those town hall meetings. So thank you.
And then has there been any talks about Midway East? At getting any work done with its condition?
We submitted the project. I think if I go off memory, it was $24 million cost estimate, full depth reconstruction from the highway all the way up the hill past. I always draw a blank. My wife works for the school district. Think I would know. Bonham, thank you. I knew the teacher would correct me. All the way past the hill because of the fault line and the soil shifting there, that the road is past its life cycle. Yeah.
Well, battle is.
So
too.
there's a certain point in time when you can slap asphalt on top and keep going. We've passed that point. So the next step is full depth, tear it down. So we're applying for money through the MPO, through the call for projects right now. Wish us luck. Come to the Cape TMPO meetings when we're talking about funding scenarios and tell policy board that should be funded. Help me make the case.
I ain't got a job. Send me the meeting invite.
I got you. And even those of you that do have jobs. So yeah, we've got that on the plan. Some other stuff that public works slide. I think Brian's keeping me moving along here.
Yes, sir.
Is the 24th Street overpass with pedestrian improvements and the bridge repairs. So that is going out this summer. So the designs on that are moving forward. And there's some more upcoming bids, as I mentioned, Kegley Phase 3 and 4 and North P Ridge. Talked about Poison Oak. And then the Hartrick Bluff Road improvements. So from 93 going south. Also talking about doing that project as well.
All right, thank you, Jason. And just a reminder in terms of how to better manage, especially when we've got really controversial zoning cases and very active neighborhood, community members that show up. We've got the timer that Jason can pull up on the screen. It just shows up in the corner, like on that screenshot, on that slide. And that'll just help to for the person speaking as well, just to see how much time is left. And of course, just like the mayor does, if y'all been to any of the council meetings, you'll see that the mayor will usually say, okay, can give you an opportunity to just sum it up, closing statement if they go over. And then we just talked about the presentation. So that is something that we can continue to look at, to be able to provide those on Thursday when we send out the packet. At this point, I don't think we're quite ready. Just as I mentioned, just a lot of changes that, in terms of trying to improve the overall processes, and that on the front end, I just don't think we're ready for that. But if we can work towards that, and especially looking at number 3 to make sure that we're addressing your questions related to base zoning district and other relevant development standards. Any questions? All right. Thank you all.
Ask for some volunteers for the invocation of the pledge. One more chance for a volunteer, then I will assign, I guess.
Voluntold.
Daniel, you gonna do the invocation? Okay. All right, and now we will hear from Mrs. Gover regarding affidavits.
For the record, one affidavit to the same has been received from Walter for item 6, FY 2014 CC. This is correct. Thank you.
All right, and having no further business, we will close the workshop at 5:31. Does anybody need a break before we roll into the front? I will now call to order the March 4th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting at 5:31 p.m. Oh, thank you. Maybe have the roll.
Yes. Good evening and welcome to the March 4th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Open Session Meeting. Commissioners, please state present if in attendance this evening. Commissioner Morales. Present. Commissioner Walker.
Present.
Commissioner Jurasic.
Present.
Commissioner Krause.
Present.
Commissioner Weaver.
Present.
Commissioner Jeans.
Present.
Commissioner Carney. Let the record show Commissioner Carney is not present. Vice Chair McBride.
Present.
Chair Marshall.
Present.
For the record, a quorum is present with 8 commissioners in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Now Commissioner Jeans will lead us in the invocation, followed by Commissioner McBride and the pledge. Please stand.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We will now confirm the meeting agenda items. Commissioners, are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll approve the meeting agenda items by unanimous consent. And since, nope, yep, that's correct. No objection. Okay. Now we will move to public comments. If there are any public comments, please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and please state your name and city of residence for the record.
I'm seeing no one logged into the virtual platform.
Seeing none in person, we'll move to the consent items. On the consent agenda is the approval of item number 4, FY-23-23-PLT. Consider and take action on the final plat of Terra Lee, a 32.56 acre 1 lot 1 block non-residential subdivision located in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas, addressed as 1503 Industrial Boulevard, 1407 Industrial Boulevard, 2402 North General Bruce Drive, and 2502 North General Bruce Drive. And Commissioners, if there are no questions or comments on this, I will entertain a motion.
Just clarify. This is for the consent agenda? We have to make motion in seconds now since it has something on it.
For the consent agenda, for the items, we need a record vote. So we just, but it's like at city council where you can combine all of your consent agenda items into one motion and vote.
I'll sink it.
Yeah, so we'll still do the record vote. So we've got a motion in a second.
And it's not just on, it's the entire consent agenda.
Yes.
Let
Yeah,
me,
so
let
if
me
we
read
had,
in the rest of the consent
say,
agenda then.
if we had, say, items 4, 5, 6, and
Yeah.
7, the motion would be, I move that we approve items 5 through 7 on the consent agenda. Second the motion, and then can we get a vote?
Thank you, Kyle.
No problem.
Good process.
Yep.
Well, could these, well, no, it can't be by unanimous consent because it has to have a motion and a.
Yeah, it just these I believe are supposed to have a record vote, and so I had Tanisha put in the script that we need a motion in a second.
Okay.
The difference is just that you can combine multiple items into one, and you don't need the presentation.
Perfect. Okay. This just happens to be one item, so.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome.
Just to make it confusing for the first time.
Yeah.
Kyle, can I ask a question?
Yes.
You know, with there's one item, he read it in. If there's multiple items, does the chair need to read in the items or just say it's on the consent agenda?
Yeah, you would not need
Yeah.
to read all the
Yeah.
items in, just, this is the consent agenda, it's items 6
So
through.
just list the items and their case numbers.
Yep,
Okay.
And the minutes would be included or not?
we can include the minutes on it.
All consent.
Yeah. Okay.
Does she have to revise her consent? For the minutes?
Since we're just voting on this one, I think the motion stands and the second stands, correct? We can just go ahead and vote.
Yeah, I mean, there is discussion being had saying maybe we should amend the motion to include the minutes. So according to the Robert's Rules of Orders, we then ask the person who made the motion if they agree with the amendment.
Do you agree with the amendment?
Yes, sir.
All right. Then
second the
then the
agreement.
amendment is
Okay.
accepted and the vote will now be on the motion as amended.
Perfect. I hope whoever's keeping other notes got all that, because I don't have that on mine. Sorry.
Okay, we'll have a vote now.
Perfect.
Commissioner Morales,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker,
Aye.
Commissioner Jurassic.
Aye.
Commissioner Krause,
Aye.
Commissioner Weaver,
Aye.
Commissioner Jeans.
Aye.
Vice Chair Marshall. Vice Chair McBride,
Aye.
Chair Marshall.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
All right. Now we'll move on to item number 6. FY-24-10-ZC, hold a public hearing to discuss and recommend action on a rezoning request from heavy industrial to planned development multifamily dwelling 2 and site development plan on 11.26 acres in the city of Temple, Bell County, Texas, addressed as 2600 West Avenue G, tax ID 2369. In this case, will be presented by Senior Planner, Ms. Cheryl Maxwell.
All right.
Oh, sorry, Jeremy.
Hey, thank you, Chair Marshall. I just want to point out the schedule at the bottom of the slide. The applicant has requested an expedited schedule to accommodate their closing date. So this will go to the City Council for first reading later this week on Thursday, March the 7th, and then the second reading on March the 21st. So this shows the location of the property. It's north of I-35 here at the corner of 49th Street and Avenue G. And this is an aerial view of the property. As Brian mentioned earlier, there's a lot of concrete on this property from previous buildings. Most of the area on the eastern portion is flat work. There are a couple of structures still remaining towards the western portion of the property. On the east, or actually on the west side, the line that's shown right here, that's the golf cart path that's going to be relocated. I have a slide later on in the presentation showing some of the options that we're looking at. Just to kind of complete the surrounding area, you've got the railroad tracks to the north, and there's Salmon's Community Center and Golf Course to the north, which also kind of wraps around on the west side with the Marvin Finn Recreation Area. On the south side, Avenue G, the right-of-way from this point to 57th Street has been abandoned in the past. To the south of that is Syntex Fence Company. On the south side of Avenue G, there's some, as you can see, there's some green area that's undeveloped and some parking lots that don't appear to be in use right now. And then on the east side of 49th Street is Wilson Art property. You can see kind of the roof lines of the buildings there. Got a couple of slides, actually more than a couple. Got a few, I'll try to go through them quickly. Pictures of the property to start with. This is a view of the property from 49th Street. And again, you can see a lot of the area has concrete over it. This is the view from Avenue G, where you can see some of the structures that still remain. And then this is the right-of-way that has been abandoned. This is the view from 57th Street. This is looking into the park, the golf course property before it makes the bend to the parking lot towards Marvin Finn area. This is the golf cart path that's going to be relocated. It kind of winds down and then goes underneath the railroad tracks to join up with Salmon's Park on the north side of the railroad property. This is just kind of looking through the wooded area there at the concrete structure that still remains. These are the properties on the east side of 49th Street. Again, this is the Wilson Art property. Properties on the south side of West Avenue G, where you've got the parking lots and the green areas that are undeveloped. And then this is the Syntex Fence Company, the building, and then they have some storage that crosses over adjacent to 57th Street. And then this is just a few shots of the park area. Again, the golf cart as it goes underneath the railroad pass there. And the property to the north, again, Salmon's Park, these two shots, and this is the railroad track. So this shows the zoning in the area. This property is zoned heavy industrial district, which is the dark purple. There's a mixture of zoning districts in this area. You've got light industrial with the light purple. Two-family district is shown in brown. The red area is commercial. And again, the Salmon's Park area is a zoned commercial with a conditional use permit for alcohol in conjunction with a restaurant. And then the property to the west is also zoned commercial district. So the heavy industrial district does not allow multifamily use. So the applicant is requesting rezoning of the property to allow a 4-story apartment complex. 349 dwelling units are proposed. This is a density of 32 dwelling units per acre. As far as the base zoning district, we've shown a few options, the different densities that are allowed in the different multifamily zoning districts, as well as the stories that are allowed. We feel like MF2 was a close match with the 4-story height limitation. With the 20 dwelling units per acre is exceeded, but it's also less than the 40 dwelling units that would be allowed with the MF3. So we have a PD condition, again, going with MF2 as the base zoning district, but a PD condition to allow the higher density of 32 dwelling units per acre. There's also a PD condition that will allow a reduction in the parking ratio for the 1-bedroom and studio apartments. Our code requires 1.75 spaces per dwelling unit, and the PD condition will allow a ratio of 1.5 spaces per dwelling unit. This results in an overall reduction of 64 spaces based upon the current site plan that was provided. This is the site plan. It's basically showing 4 buildings for multifamily use. Building 1 will have multifamily as well as the leasing office and amenity center. And then 3 entrances are proposed, one off of 49th, one off of Avenue G, and then one off of 57th Street. And then these are just a shot of the proposed building elevation to give you an idea of what they're proposing. On the landscape plan, they're generally following the I-35 standards. They are landscaping 12.6% of the area and providing trees in the parking islands, which you can see throughout the complex here. So a couple of things we want to talk about. We've had several discussions with the applicant. The park area, again, this part of the park area overlaps onto to their property. These are a couple of potential paths, I guess, that cart might take. The one on the right side, again, this is showing the existing location. This would move it to where it's just outside of the property, kind of cutting through the edge of that. I think they call it a nursery green. This is another option where it might move onto the other side of the nursery green. So again, those are just a couple of options that'll be looked at. And the applicant is responsible for the expenses of relocating the golf cart path. With regard to utilities, water and sewer is available to serve the site. There's a 8-inch sanitary sewer main that crosses over the property. So this also needs to be relocated. The applicant and the city will share the cost to relocate this line. And then the last exhibit shows right-of-way dedication the applicant is providing for 49th Street and Avenue G. This will facilitate future street improvements and possible realignment. Brian mentioned that there's a concept plan, a redevelopment plan that's just recently started. So the relocation or possible relocation is something that came out of that. Again, it's in the early stages, but this would be, the corner kind of shows generally what that might look like, where you just kind of cut the corner of the property to combine Avenue G with 57th Street. And again, this is in the very early stages, so just a concept at this point. So several of these tables and charts are in your packet. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I mainly wanted to show this first one, where we show a comparison of the permitted and conditional uses that are allowed in the current heavy industrial zoning district versus those that would be allowed in the requested multifamily 2 base zoning district. Again, you can see several uses that are currently allowed in contrast to multifamily 2. The uses would be allowed, that would be allowed are basically restricted to residential uses and then a few educational and institutional uses. And this is the trip generation estimates for the proposed multifamily development. It's considered mid-rise, looking at a little over 1,500 weekday average trips are estimated. The table compares this with a low-rise development, which I believe goes up to 3 stories, and a high-rise, which is over 10 stories. It also compares single-family detached and single-family attached. This is basically showing all at 335 units, and basically the ratio is going to be higher for your single-family detached and attached versus your multifamily use. But this number of dwelling units wouldn't be, you couldn't fit that on that property. So we have a second slide that basically shows the breakdown if you were to develop it with detached single-family homes or attached homes, like for instance, townhomes, 110 units versus 220. The townhomes comes very close to what is proposed or the estimated trip generation for the multifamily use. Both of these are just over 1,500. And several plans that we looked at, the comp plan shows regional commercial as the future land use for this property, primarily regional serving businesses. Apartment use is considered appropriate on a conditional basis. We believe that the PD conditions help achieve the intent of the comp plan in that regard. On the thoroughfare plan, there are no collector or arterial streets adjacent to the property. However, as we indicated, the applicant is dedicating right away for future improvements and realignment. There's no conflict with the mobility master plan. There really is no sidewalk requirement with regard to the sidewalk ordinance or the trails master plan in this vicinity. However, generally with the multifamily development, we do require sidewalks. These would be provided by the city in conjunction with future street improvements at the time that those occur. And then the corridor plan or the I-35 redevelopment plan that we spoke about, again, that's underway and in the early stages. The proposed use is considered appropriate and fits with the concept plan. And again, that plan proposes potential realignment, road realignment in the future with that general alignment. So we feel the rezoning request is in compliance with the future development plan, compatible with surrounding uses and zoning, and public facilities are available. Notice of the rezoning was printed in the newspaper February 22nd. It was also mailed to surrounding property owners within 200 feet. This was 17 properties. We did receive one response in favor, shown here with the A, from the current property owner. And the DRC reviewed this December the 18th, and as noted earlier, this is in the Temple ISD. So we recommend approval, subject to the following PD conditions. And these are in, I guess the wording is in detail in your packet. This is just a summary. I'll just touch on a few of these briefly. Again, MF2 would be the base zoning district. Those standards would apply. Maximum lot density of 32 dwelling units per acre would be allowed. There would be a reduction in the parking ratio allowed. Landscaping per the landscape plan that was provided, lighting per the UDC glare section. Entrances must comply with the design standards. Developer relocating the golf cart path and paying for that. The developer and the city sharing the cost to relocate the public sewer line. With regard to the architectural design guidelines, I just want to point out that Juliet, I hadn't heard that term before, but Juliet or full balconies will be provided on the 3rd and 4th floor corner units on the northern side of buildings 2, 3, and 4 that are facing Lake Polk. Safety netting is required along the west and north property lines adjacent to the golf courses. This requirement may be waived if the developer agrees to indemnify the city for any claims related to damage or injury from stray golf balls. As we mentioned, the applicant is dedicating 15 feet of right-of-way along West Avenue G and 49th Street. And the city will not require the developer to install street trees and sidewalks along these streets, but will provide that at the time of development. The city shall deed the remainder strip of 57th Street back to the developer in the future if 57th Street is realigned. And the development will comply substantially with the approved site plan and elevations. The planning director may approve minor changes. Major changes require review and approval by the planning commission and city council. And a subdivision plat is required prior to the building permit. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Cheryl. Commissioners, have any questions or comments?
So I think this is a great way forward to this for the space. I never would have thought of that. Multifamily, the way we're doing it, or the way you guys are doing it. My only concern is because last time I was golfing, the train was literally stopped on the tracks on the east side of 49th Street. And as it started going, it started blaring its horn for like 2 minutes straight as it was getting up to speed. I'm assuming you're probably not managing the development after it's completed. So is there going to be like any soundproofing or notifications in the lease contracts that those northeast units are going to be more affected by the train? Because it was very distracting and loud. I would not want to be waking up by that. So
Would you like the applicant to respond now?
whoever, or we can wait until if anybody else has questions and they can answer it all.
No, I don't have any questions this time.
You want to come on up?
Yeah, so again, this is Adam Moore with Kilbane. And yeah, so what our plan is we're actually going to do a sound study. And we are going to soundproof those windows on that northeast, northwest side.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good
That's
to
the
hear.
intent.
Yeah, it just
Thank you.
louder than I expected it to be. Luckily, I wasn't teeing off at the time. So
Especially when JD's playing.
Yeah, our intent there is not to put in that. We don't, I mean, since we've walked it, I've seen one golf ball, maybe two max. Our intent's not to put a net there because that's actually going to intrude on the actual people's views of the lake and of the golf course and the park. So we do not plan on putting a net there. Other questions?
Thank you. This case does require a public hearing. We will now open up the public hearing. And if you wish to speak and are attending in person, please come to the podium. If you're viewing the meeting online, please virtually raise your hand and please provide your full name and city of residence for the record.
Seeing none online.
Having none in person, we will close the public hearing. And if there are no more questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll
Make a motion. Yep, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I make a motion, we approve FY 2410 ZZ as recommended by staff.
I'll second.
I have a motion for approval by Commissioner Weaver with a second by Commissioner McBride. May we have a vote, please?
Yes. Commissioner Morales?
Aye.
Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
For the record, Commissioner Jurassic has already abstained. Commissioner Krause?
Aye.
Commissioner Weaver?
Aye.
Commissioner Jeans?
Aye.
Vice Chair McBride?
Aye.
Chair Marshall?
Aye.
The vote is 7 ayes, 0 nays, and 1 abstain. Commissioner Jurassic abstains. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll let Chairman come back. All right, we'll move to item number 7, FY 24 14 ZC. Hold a public hearing to discuss and recommend action on a rezoning request from agriculture to plan development general retail with the site development plan to allow mini storage warehouses and recreational vehicle storage on 5.083 acres situated in the Maximum Marina Survey abstract number 14 and addressed as 3212 East Adams Avenue. This case will be presented by Transportation Planner, Mr. Jason Deckman.
All right, good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I see on the slide here, this will go to City Council on March 21st, 2 weeks from today, consent agenda, assuming no controversy on April 4th. So this is a planned development, general retail, which we have gotten into the habit of processing storage businesses needing to be rezoned, and using the planned development method for that. So you've got the site plan on the right, and I've got a slide with this in greater detail. So I'll kind of walk you through from top to bottom. So at the north, you've got 70 RV parking spaces. So it's not an RV park, it is RV storage. And you've got 8 storage buildings, one of which will be the office in the middle, with some parking for, people accessing their storage units. And then in the front, a building for proposed retail, no uses which have been identified for yet, but anything that would be allowed in the general retail base zoning by right. And then there's parking for that building. There's one access point to East Adams Avenue. There's a 24-foot roadway that follows along the side and up to those 3 different zones of the storage and the future retail. And like Brian said at the beginning, that this complies with that mixed use. So there's a mixture of activities there, and there's some conditions on how that mixed use is going to be implemented towards the end. We'll get into that. So you also see that there's a landscape buffer around the edges. There's existing structures on the site, and you'll see some of those on the photo. There's a home and a metal outbuilding that's there now, and they would remain, a home would be allowed to remain if the GR zoning comes into being. So that would remain until such time as they move forward with platting and building permits to start building this out. So here's a better view of the site plan. So at this point, we've turned it to the side. North is to the right. A sidewalk would be required. We've asked the applicants to add that to their site plan. Have not received that yet, but should get that by the time this goes to City Council. So I've just overlaid their site plan with where that sidewalk would go in the right of way where we normally do sidewalks. And then in the back is the 70 RV spaces, 12 by 40. And there's a condition that we'll talk about a little bit later, but I think it's worth talking about here. You can visualize a little bit better. I don't claim to be an expert RV driver. I've driven a lot of things with wheels and otherwise. And one of the conditions may be the number of spots, the spacing of the drive lanes, and the width of the parking spaces. Whether or not that's going to be adequate or follows best practices for RVs, if it's trailers or the bigger motorhome styles, that the applicants would have some flexibility to configure that RV parking area to prevent dings and fender benders and mishaps. So we do have some photos of the area. So on the upper left is just looking into the back. On the right, you see that existing storage building. You can see on the lower left that's the open drainage channel that sits against the right of way for State Highway 53 or East Adams. And then the lower right is there's some commercial businesses across the road. So this is an area that it's not primarily residential. It is mostly businesses in the area. On the aerial photo, you'll see to the left of this, there's an existing nursery. And there's also East Bell Water Supply Company has a storage tank. So they have their own access road that's not shared with this development. So they'll have their own access. And then you see over here the existing home and the storage, the outbuilding, as I called it. This is located outside the loop. Most of our water utilities end at Loop 363. So we'll talk about what facilities are there and what may be needed on the utility slide when we get to that. And look, here it is. So there's an 8-inch line that provides water to that East Bell tank, but that is not a line that's going to be tapped into, and it wouldn't provide service to this property. Fire marshal and city engineer both looked at it and said that, the development would require a fire hydrant, and the hydrant would need a city water line extended to provide enough water pressure and fire flow. So that's something that's going to be required during plating, and the applicant figure out, how to make that happen. We did receive a letter from East Bell Water Supply. That's on the response map. They're neither for or against it. They just ask that any development, is coordinated with them, so they have no concerns that their lines are going to be damaged or lose access to their facility. So this is future land uses corridor mixed use with the mixed use activity center overlay. So we see that intersection of Adams in the loop as a real key center of gravity. So we want development around that area to be elevated a little bit. So it's more intense, more integrated mixed use, which this would be with the combination of both the retail and the storage uses. And there's a PD condition about what the appearance of those buildings would look like. That would be how we implement that mixed use activity center guidance for higher quality development. East Adams Avenue is a major arterial. State Highway 53, as I said, would require sidewalks. That's why that sidewalk was added to the plat. There's also a Trails Master Plan alignment down Adams. So having that sidewalk come in now, maybe there's not existing sidewalks, but this could be the component of a future sidewalk system as that area, develops, expands, or redevelops from the existing businesses. As far as current traffic, East Adams Avenue, major arterial, 2 to 4 lanes, anywhere from 20 to 40,000 daily trips, currently carrying about 4 to 5,000. So there's plenty of capacity. Storage, you may recall, there's storage uses we've looked at. It's not a high traffic generator. Some of the storage businesses and folks that I've talked to, that their heaviest time is either Friday afternoons as people move out to grab the trailer and go out for a camping trip, or on the weekends as they're going to their storage unit to grab their goodies. But daily trips are fairly low, less than 100. The retail, I made some estimated or some educated guesses on what retail uses might be applicable here. And given the size of the building and site plan, maybe 200 to 300 trips a day. And again, that's highly dependent on what business goes in there. We don't know what that is. They have not identified a tenant, but that would be roughly equivalent to 40 single family homes. TxDOT will require the drive entrance permit, and as they develop, to see that can be constructed to standard. It doesn't violate any of their spacing restrictions, or whether or not they would need to apply for a variance through TxDOT. And currently there's no CIP or TxDOT widening or improvement projects planned for this section of East Adams. So here's the traffic estimation. The storage units are at the top. I'm going to take a drink of water and let you kind of peruse some of the retail standards. What I would say there is, these are some educated guesses I made. If you've got an idea of a retail use that may be more applicable, that we can include that with what's presented to council. I would certainly be open to that feedback. But you do see that, picking some different types of retail uses, you're in that 200 to 300 ballpark. So the comparison of uses between ag and general retail, very few retail uses would be allowed in ag, but most would be allowed in GR. Of course, this being PD gives an indication that it's very likely going to be the storage business. If it's not, if there's some major changes to the site plan, then that's something that may be reviewed by the director of planning. And if they're severe enough, would need to be reviewed by this commission and city council again. And if alcohol was involved, then of course that would require the conditional use permit as well. So in terms of our compliance summary, it does fit with the mobility plan, thoroughfare plan, and the other facilities. So we sent out 13 notices. We did receive one notice back today that did not mark agree or disagree, so I've marked them as neutral. That notice has been provided to you, and that was from East Bell. And the gist of their response was that they just wanted to be involved and included in the process, so that there's no risk that any of their pipelines, buried or otherwise, are going to be damaged or impaired by this development. And we did print the notice of the public hearing on February 22nd in accordance with state law and local ordinance. So we've pulled out and condensed the plan development conditions. I'm going to highlight two for you here. The fire hydrant, which you mentioned for the commercial development, fire marshal indicated that's going to be a necessity. So when they submit the subdivision plat and Topa Utility, they can start looking at how they can get that water line extended. And then for the mixed use, what we're doing here is applying the TMED architectural standards. So there's requirements that the building would be articulated, would have some type of a sloped roof, dormers, windows, a mixture of building materials. It wouldn't just be, bare metal shed. It would be a mix of, masonry or wood or siding and possibly metal. So the end result being a little bit more pleasing to the eye and not just a big metal box. Apologies if there's any metal box builders in the room. And then minor variations, site development plan, like I mentioned, access, circulation, the size of the lot, once they come in for platting and they've done their drainage calculations, if detention is going to be needed, does that impinge on some of the parking areas? Depending on the scale of those changes, that may be something that the director of planning may approve. Again, if they're drastic enough, it would just require a PD amendment and would come back to this commission. The full list of plan development conditions is in your packet, and I've got slides at the end if you really care to read through the verbiage. We've got that available for you if you've got questions. And staff recommends approval from ag to plan development general retail with the site development plan, subject to the conditions that I just showed you. And that concludes my presentations. I'll stand by if you have any questions.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
I don't have a question, Jason. I would just because there's one on every corner, let's say Dollar General decides they want to put in a store down there to be on that side of town, just maybe have that point of reference of what that car count could look like in that intersection, I think would be value add for city council. So
Yeah.
I don't need that data. I'm just saying just as a thought process because
No, that's a great addition.
that's all I've got.
Seeing no other questions or comments, this case does require a public hearing. We will now open up the public hearing, and if you wish to speak and are attending in person, please come to the podium. And if you are attending virtually, please firstly raise your hand and please provide your full name and city of residence for the record.
No one on the virtual platform, just us.
Seeing none in person, we will now close the public hearing. And if there are no more questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve FY-24-14 ZC as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner McBride for approvals. The second from Commissioner Weaver. May we have a vote, please?
Yes, Commissioner Morales.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Jurassic.
Aye.
Commissioner Krause.
Aye.
Commissioner Weaver.
Aye.
Commissioner Jeans.
Aye.
Vice Chair McBride.
Aye.
Chair Marshall.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
All right, we will move on to item number 8, FY-23-51-PLT. Consider and take action on the final plat of Goats Edition, replat number 1, a 14.019 acre, 2 lot, 1 block, non-residential subdivision, being a combination of unplatted land situated in the Sarah Christopher Survey, abstract number 183, and a replat of Goats Edition, lots 1, 2, and 3, block 1, located in the city of Temple extraterritorial jurisdiction in Bell County, Texas, addressed as 4857, 4885, 4921, and 4957 Lower Troy Road. This case will be presented by Ms. Cheryl Maxwell.
Okay, thank you. No exceptions are requested, so the planning commission has final approval authority for this plat. Again, this is located just outside the city limits. The city limits is shown here in the gray color, so it's basically right across the street. It is a replat of these 3 lots, which is the original Goats Edition, and then it also incorporates the rest of this acreage shown here. 2 lots are being created, 4 acres and 10 acres. It's proposed for an RV park with 111 RV sites. Again, it's in our ETJ. We have no zoning regulations. Our RV park ordinance does not apply in the ETJ, but the county does have an RV park ordinance that the site plan will be subject to. They will also be reviewing access for the property. Do want to point out that the applicant's dedicating half of the right of way needed to achieve a total of 60 feet, which is the county standard. And our ordinance does require 2 standard entrances or 1 alternate design entrance for 111 dwelling units, and that's noted on the plat. Private detention pond is proposed on lot 2. And again, Bell County will be reviewing the drainage calculations with the site plan review. It is in the city of Temple Water CCM, but the nearest water line is approximately 3,600 feet away. The site's currently served by Little Elm Valley Water Supply Corporation. They have 2 taps on a 3-inch water line. Any expansion of water service requires city of Temple approval since it is, again, in our CCM. There's no sanitary sewer available, but septic systems are approved subject to the Bell County Public Health District rules. Fire protection, no fire hydrants in this vicinity. The 3-inch line cannot support the fire hydrant, and the plat does satisfy the fire hydrant exemption in our ETJ with these criteria. The Bell County Fire Marshal will evaluate fire protection needs with the site development review. And the plat was determined to be administratively complete on February 20th. And we recommend approval of the plat. Be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, questions, comments? Seeing none, this one does not require a public hearing, so I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve FY-23-51 PLT as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner McBride and a second by Commissioner Morales. Can we have a vote, please?
Yes, Commissioner Morales.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Jurassic.
Aye.
Commissioner Krause.
Aye.
Commissioner Weaver.
Aye.
Commissioner Jeans.
Aye.
Vice Chair McBride.
Aye.
Chair Marshall.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
All right, and having no further business, we will conclude the meeting at 6:12. Thanks, everybody.